welcome back to the Soft Edit. Today's topic will be about transitions, and I am here with Irene, who's going to talk us through what transitions mean, what the stages of transitions are, and how do you navigate going through a transition. Thank you so much for joining us, Irene.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this.
Me too.
And the conversation.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Maybe to start off, we'd love to hear a little bit about you. Tell us about yourself and your work, and then we can jump into it.
So, Irene is my name, and I work in the space of life transitions as a coach, a therapist, and a counselor. Mm-hmm. I throw all those in there because it depends on the need. Sometimes it's coaching that's needed, therapy that's needed. Life transitions are those points of life, and we'll talk about that bring a lot of angst and a lot of decisions need to be made. Mm-hmm. So I help to guide through those transitions. So life coach, but the specific niche is life transitions.
I love that.
Yes.
Beautiful. So you're the right person to be talking to about this. So maybe to start us off, I'd love to understand, what is a transition?
A transition is, and it's funny because I was looking this up on the internet, and it brought everything else that I don't do. I don't do gender transitions. No. So transitions are seasons of change, and I really want to emphasize the seasons because you cannot live in transition mode for long. Ooh. It's intense. So transitions are seasons of change that cause us to shift from one stage to the other, from one phase to another. So there's change, there's upheaval, there's all sorts of things going on. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying it's not sustainable long term
to live in. Yeah.
So if you find yourself in too much upheaval, then there's something wrong with what's going on. So, but life transitions are stages of life where you are shifting. There's a shift. There's a shift in focus. There's a shift. It could be physical. It could be mental, emotional. It could be all of them. Yeah. But they move us from one stage to another. So there's change. Yeah.
And what creates them?
Ooh, they're inevitable. First of all, just let's start there. What creates transition is life.
Ooh, I love that.
It is life.
It's true.
And in fact, when you think about the life stages, the lifespan actually, when you think about the lifespan, we start life from our mother's wombs. That in itself is a transition. Oof. It is a transition, and many people don't make it. Many babies don't make it. Because it's as I said, it's intense. There's a lot going on. Some babies don't make it. Some moms don't make it. They're also transitioning from being, say, you didn't have children and you're having a child. That's a transition. So right from birth to death, the whole lifespan has many opportunities for transitioning. And we can talk through that. Yeah. Is that something you want to delve into right away? So, so that's the first transition, from womb to birth. Yeah. And you come into the world. And then the next one, in terms of age, in terms of the lifespan, the next one is what parents call terrible twos, which I like to call terrific twos. Yeah. It's terrific because the child is toddling away from, in fact, they're called toddlers. Yeah. They're toddling away from mom and discovering their world. Yeah. They're just wanting to be independent. They're just changing. They no longer are fully reliant on mom. They're discovering the world. They're looking at sockets and wondering why there are holes in there, and that's toddling. Yeah. And it's a phase of discovery, self-discovery, and discovery of their world. Because up until that point, my whole world was mom. Now I need to go figure out. And then a child becomes other. They become othered from mom. Yeah. The next big one is, so that's a toddler. And then we have all these wonderful sweet years until the preteen years. Yeah. And then the teenage transition is famous. Yeah. Many casualties.
A one for everybody, yes.
Yeah, many casualties, many crazy choices, moving away, farther and farther away from the significant parent figures in their lives. That's another transition. Many choices are made, many decisions are made, many good ones and many not very good ones. Yeah. And then this person is transitioning into young adulthood. Yeah. And then again at that point, post high school, post-tertiary training, post-university, post-college, that provides another major transition. And now I'm so excited that the literature is actually recognizing what they call the emerging young adults, but also it's called the quarter-life transition.
Ooh.
It's a quarter-life transition.
Yeah.
It can be a crisis.
Yeah.
Because who am I? Where do I live? Where do I work? Should I work? Should I get married? Should I not? So many decisions that school, parents cannot really help you through.
Yeah.
It's a decision you have to make.
I love that.
And so that is a quarter-life transition. And then when you go beyond that is a famous midlife transition. Again, many more questions and many existential questions are coming up at that point in life. Beyond that, later on in older adulthood, we're looking at transitions like retirement. Who am I? Who am I without my job? Who am I without my, I don't know, whatever you've been doing for all of these years? Huge transition. And then death. So we started with birth. We went all the way till death. The crazy thing about life stage transitions, lifespan transitions, is there are also so many more mini transitions along the way. Along the way, you might have made a decision to get married or to get divorced or to have children or not. And then the children left the nest. That's another transition. And then they're getting married. So that as they transition, you're transitioning too. So there are so many opportunities, not to mention job changes, country moves, returning even. Sometimes you think returning to the place you knew is easy. It's not. It's probably harder.
No, it is.
It's probably harder. So in a sense, those are life transitions.
I love that. I love that framing that it is just life.
It is
because
just
I think transition is a scary word, and everybody is always nervous around any sort of change. But it is inevitable, and it is necessary for you to grow and evolve.
Absolutely.
But that's scary because it to a degree, it means letting go of what you know, what you've known. And honestly, sometimes life feels like you just learned something. And
just when you knew. Just when you got it.
Just when you got it. Like, just when you're, like, comfortable. And then something, like, ruptures and you're in transition and you're moving again. And I love that comment around, like, transition not being sustainable to live in because it is an upheaval. It is, like, this massive shift. And I guess I'm curious, like, what are the big stages of a transition, and how do we move through them? Because I think it's one thing to know you're in a transition, which, to be fair, that's also difficult. It's difficult to acknowledge sometimes.
It's true.
But I'm also curious, like, how do you move through them? What does that look like? What does moving through a transition look like?
Do you want us to look at the stages and then we can figure out how to do that? As we said, transitions are inevitable. Like, this baby that was born has no choice. Unless they die, they have no choice but to become toddlers and then teenagers and all of that. I think the most important thing is just awareness that transition will happen, whether we welcome it or not. How you go through it can either produce crisis because you were not prepared, or you're resisting, or you hate what's going to happen, or you go with the flow, which is also not ideal, or you go with knowledge, which is ideal. And here's our opportunity to learn something about the stages. So the first stage is an ending, which is funny that we're ending. We start with an ending. But we say that because you're ending the previous stage and going into the next stage. And endings are hard. Even when the next thing is going to be good, endings are hard. Saying goodbye is hard. You're saying goodbye to what was. And we'll look at specific things like relationships. You're saying goodbye to relationships. If you're a parent, you're saying goodbye to children. Maybe they're leaving home. If you are at an old job, you're saying goodbye to that which was and moving into something new. So those endings bring about an end to an old way of doing and an old way of being. And that's big. Then the next stage of transition is called the neutral zone. It's the no man's land in between. I have come from, I'm going to, but I'm not there yet. I'm right here in the neutral zone. I'm confused. I'm a little anxious. I am wondering, how will I get there? Will I get there? I hope to get there. Very introspective because sometimes we've made choices that were not great maybe in the ending season. And so maybe we're also recalibrating and thinking, I need to do better. I hope I do better in the next one. But that's the neutral zone. You've not got there yet. And you will get there. Then the new beginning provides an opportunity to launch into the new season. My voice.
Have some time. No, it's okay.
Why am I cracking? Yeah.
No, I do love that. And I think before you even jump into the new season, I think the no man's land, I think that's the hardest.
That is the hardest.
Because when you're grieving an ending, to a degree you're distracted by the grieving.
Yes.
But when you don't know what's coming next, and when you're sitting in your mistakes, and you're reflecting on what you did wrong, and to make it worse, you just can't see what's ahead yet. It's so difficult and draining and terrifying. Because who knows what's gonna come next. How do you survive that?
You take it in. You don't bolt.
Ooh,
You don't run. Can I use a morbid example?
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry.
No,
So
please.
some of the work I do is grief work. Some of the work I do is grief work. And the expression of countless people is, so someone's died, and then you get into this business of ending. There's an ending that's happening. So it's busy. You're preparing to bury them and all of that. Most people say that the neutral zone starts the day they walk back home and walk through the doors, and it hits them. This person is actually gone. We've just had the burial. They're gone, and everyone's gone. So the noise of the end has ceased, and now you're with your thoughts. And you have to do it. No one can do it for you because people move on, and they have to. We can't hold them. That neutral zone, or it's, again, without not being too morbid, it's probably the in-between jobs, that space, in-between relationships, in-betweens, that neutral zone is hard. I can imagine. That is hard. That is hard.
And how do you move to the next stage? How do you forgive yourself in the no man's land? Because I think that's the part that even I've struggled with, but I think a lot of people have struggled with. When you're out of the ending, you're in this kind of act two. Scene two. Exactly. You're not quite at the victory, the other side yet. You don't know why it's happening. And your mistakes start to come up, and you're like, okay, what was my part in the ending? And you're sitting in that, and you're navigating that, and you're recognizing your mistakes. How do you forgive yourself? And how do you kind of release it? What does releasing it look like?
I like what you said. You have to take it in. Take it in. Just take time to reflect. Because we are prone to just want to bury and allow other noises to fill this neutral zone. The noises of, social media, scrolling, the noises of activity and noise. And yet what this transition phase is asking for is, can you just keep quiet? Can you just stay silent so we can have a conversation about what was good, what wasn't so good, because it's not always ugly. The previous season is not always ugly, and there's things to bring forward. And the noise sometimes is full of self-blame, guilt, things I could have, should have, would have. But even pausing to think about the things we did well is part of self-forgiving, and reflecting on what can I bring forward to my new season. What did I learn? What did I do right? What was my role? If there were mistakes, what was my role? Because sometimes we also carry other people's roles. Like maybe it wasn't your thing. Maybe it wasn't your mistake.
Right.
How about recognizing that? But it takes presence of mind. Honestly, it takes thinking, being, staying, listening, and allowing yourself to really think about your role. I want to talk about your role more because sometimes we also want to move forward and say, that's the way I am. That's the way I am does not produce growth. Imagine if you and I are relating, Lawam, and you keep pointing things out to me, and I keep that's where I am. It just means I'm not willing to grow. I'm not willing to change. I'm not even willing to pause and think, if that's the way I am I good for the next season? So self-forgiving is reflective. It takes reflecting. It takes quiet. It takes writing. It takes journaling. It takes pros and cons. Who am I? What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? How can I leverage what is my strengths for the next season so I can be better? I don't know. Does that make sense for self-forgiving?
It does. Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
And looking at the past, reflecting in the past, and a sense of understanding and a sense of accountability.
Yes.
But not a sense of regression. Because I think that's kind of the challenge that a lot of people have. And not just women, but especially as women. Because we're so good at sort of chastising ourselves around mistakes.
And ruminating.
We will sit in it. And we will feel this level of guilt that sometimes it's just tough to move forward. We don't have the same level of regard sometimes around mistakes just being a part of life. And just being a part of the dance, and being a part of the adventure.
And so it does take self-assessing. Who am I? What did I do wrong? How did I get there? If you got into a ditch, how did I end up in the ditch? You have to assess that, right? Once you've self-assessed, then you say, okay, how will I grow out of this? How can I grow? What can I leverage, as I was saying earlier? And then you create a self-awareness around yourself. Now that I have self-assessed, I have a good idea who I am. It's a grade sheet. It's a personal grade sheet. This is how I'm doing. I'm at a 70% or 60. Or sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. I'm actually at a 91. Like just do a self-assessment. And there are many, many, many things that you can use. There are score sheets, personal score sheets that you can use. And then once you've self-assessed, you've created self-awareness, then self-agency must check in and say, okay, we can move forward, not move on. Because I think a lot of people want to move on. Do you know what moving on means? In fact, the phrase that comes to my mind is moving on swiftly.
Oh, wow.
You know how people use it? It's dismissive. It's, I don't care what happened. Moving on.
I'm good.
Moving on
Whatever.
swiftly. No, you can't move on swiftly. In self-forgiveness. You can move forward when you do the work. Self-assess, what did I say? Self-assess, create self-awareness, and then self-agency can follow from that. You cannot be a self-agent. You can't self-advocate if you don't even know, if you don't even know the mistakes and the what helps you to equip you for moving forward.
I love that. Move forward instead of move on. Because also, like, in a transition, unfortunately, sometimes you can't move swiftly through it.
No, you can't.
It will have its stages. It will take its time until you get to the other side.
And guess what if you don't?
What?
You keep repeating the class.
Oh, yeah.
You just keep being held back in the grade.
It's true. It's true.
So you haven't learned it yet.
Yeah.
Or if you do insist on moving on, you always, that's the things that we bury under the rug.
It always comes back again.
And you're always stepping on it. Oop.
It'll follow
You're
you.
always stepping on it. It's always rearing its head because you chose the easier way, which was to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and sometimes, like the transitions in life, like the life ones you talked through, are obvious.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not.
Yep.
And to your point, sometimes you're in a good place and everything is great, and then it's not anymore.
Yep.
How do you know when you're in a transition? Because it's like you've spoken about self-awareness and you've talked through what the stages are.
Yeah.
But some of these transitions are subtle.
They are.
It's not something sharp or some magic thing that happened that just created this disruption. It's not necessarily a life stage. It's just a shift.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the end of a relationship. Maybe it's the result of like a self-growth journey where you're just different. How do you know when, I guess, the world around you, it just isn't serving you anymore?
Just not. It's not serving you anymore. Sometimes the relationship is not serving you anymore and you have emotional angst. Why am I so unsettled? Why am I so unfulfilled?
Yeah.
Why do I have so much angst? And maybe you just know that this is not you anymore. You can't show up as you, the authentic you. So something has shifted. Sometimes it's an awareness that I need to move somewhere. I need to move into something new.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like. Yeah. And like you're saying, it's so subtle, especially if, say, where you are has been serving you, has served you for a long time, for example, has been comfortable. Yeah. So there's no logical reason why you're feeling this way, but you do have to tune into that. Yeah. Sometimes it's just continuous existential questions. Who am I? Like suddenly you're asking, who am I? What's my purpose? What am I doing here?
What does it all mean?
Existential questions are just that. They help you to move into a new way of existing. Yeah. They help you to question and up your game so that you can maybe reinvent purpose. It could be just an awareness that it's silly, Lewam. Sometimes it's you're filling out forms and the drop-down list menu on age has changed. Yeah. And something happens in your head and you realize, I'm not in this age bracket anymore. I'm in this other age bracket. And sometimes it's the jolting of even people's regard for you. I was talking to someone earlier today and she was saying that her mom has just this week realized that she's not who she used to be. Oh, I said, how long did that take? So her mom is in her 60s, but she was a powerful woman. Yeah. But she walked into a certain space and no one knew her. Yeah. No one knew her name. That's a transition. When people don't know your name anymore. And sometimes it was a place you wielded power and knowledge and whatever. Yeah. But you're not, I hate to say this, sometimes you're not needed in that space anymore. Yeah. And that's the painful endings that we were talking about earlier. But how beautiful that sometimes endings are not sometimes, always endings are necessary so that we can reinvent for the new season. So you sometimes just know because things have shifted. Things have shifted.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I guess that comes with being like emotionally attuned with yourself.
Absolutely.
And who you are and listening to those signals that something isn't serving you anymore. And transitions are brought into your life either as a result of your actions or as a result of circumstances or the environment around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess like the thing I wonder about as well when it comes to transitions is actually just understanding how do you, one, avoid regressing, and how do you survive losing things in transition, losing people in transition, relationships, things. How do you move through that?
I want to introduce something that's not original with me.
Yeah.
It's actually it's one of the big conversations in transition literature, and a man called David Pollock uses the idea of rafting through the transition. And a raft is a boat, really. Yeah. It's crude. It's a crude boat. Yeah. Not so crude, but it's planks. Yeah. Sometimes it's just 4 planks, 2 across and 2 vertical and 2 horizontal. And it's supposed to get you across this river. So let's assume this river is our transition. And we're coming from this side of the bank, this side of the river bank, and we're needing to go across on this raft. Yeah. R, it's actually an acronym for R is for reconciliation. Reconciliation. What are you reconciling? You're reconciling. Sometimes it's relationships. Those that are reconcilable. Sometimes it's just doing the head work of reconciling and closing the books and finishing well and saying your goodbyes well. A is affirmation. Who are you affirming? You're affirming those people that have been instrumental in this season of your life. You're saying thank you. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for being my advocate for this or that. Thank you for opening this or that door for me. Thank you for, I don't know, being my coach. Thank you for holding my hand. Thank you for helping me cry. Affirming the people that have been, the people, the events, sometimes it's events that have brought you to this point, right? Yeah. The F in our raft is farewell. You have to say goodbye when you can. Oof. You have to. Sometimes we don't have time to say goodbye. Yeah. Like say in sudden shifts, but even then, we can say goodbye. Even then, we can say goodbye. Sometimes it's saying goodbye to the old Irene, the old Lawam, that girl. Yeah. We need to say goodbye to her because if we don't, she'll be waiting and it will be unfinished business, right?
She'll be holding us back.
Yes, holding us back. Yeah. This bag of things that we didn't deal with, these goodbyes that we never said. And then while you are doing that, you start to now think. That's the T in RAFT. Think about your destination, the new season. And if we were to use that, the stages of change, this is at new beginnings. You're starting to think about your new destination. Yeah. You're starting to think, okay, how do I need to show up? How will I get there? Who will be there waiting for me? And if it's not a physical move, because that applies to physical moves as well, if it's an emotional move, how will I show up? Yeah. What do I want to come with? Is it guilt? Maybe not. Is it unforgiveness? No, those are heavy. Yeah. Leave them on this side.
Leave them on the other side of the island.
Yeah. And then raft across. So that's just an easy way of remembering
I love
how we need to get across. Yeah.
Raft.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I even love the imagery of it because it's like it's utilitarian. Yes. It's there to get you to the other side. Yes. It's not there to cruise.
It's not forever.
Exactly. Like a transition isn't forever.
It is not forever. And it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you will move through it.
Yes.
It's just a matter of time.
Yes.
And work. Because some people think it's just time. Yeah. And time is not enough.
Yeah.
I think if you don't, to your point, if you don't deal with it, it's going to wait for you.
Oh, yeah, it's patient, by the way. And then the crazy thing, too, is if you don't transition well now, it will bunch up with yet another transition. How's that for dealing with 2 in 1?
No. Oh, no. God forbid. That sounds terrible. No.
Yeah.
But, it's a good point.
Yeah, because it patiently waits for you to deal with it. Yeah. Yeah. You
and
didn't
then
say
those ones are even harder to navigate or get
They
through.
are. Because it becomes, actually in transition theories, there's complicated transitions. It becomes so complex because we didn't finish well. We didn't raft well.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We didn't finish well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think for me, this has been something that's been quite difficult to learn, and I think it is for a lot of people. When you accept that these transitions and these shifts are actually a part of life, because I think you actually have to accept that.
Yeah.
So a lot of us grow up thinking, you grow up and then you figure it all out. And you have this very one-dimensional view of what life is. And you're like, and then you just like right into the sunset, it's not.
I wish.
It's not like hard. It's just like, that's it. So you just need to get there. And once you get there, it's all figured out. And then you learn, actually, it's not.
Yep.
Actually, it's this shift, and transitions are a part of these.
They are.
They're like these, almost like these interruptions, but it's kind of like stairs.
Yes.
It's like an interruption because this is done,
Yep.
and then it takes you to another level.
Yep.
And so how do we build resilience in navigating transitions? Because it is a part of life, because it is just kind of like always going to be a part of it. Whether it's loss, breakups, grief, or just finding like a new sense of identity. How do we build this resilience so we can raft better?
Resilience is built in knowing. Just knowing that transitions will happen.
That's a beautiful point.
Yeah?
You're right.
Just knowing.
Yeah.
Because if we bury our heads in the sand and assume we will ride off into the sunset, that's being in denial.
Yeah.
And denial becomes yet one more point of resistance. Once you get into the raft, don't fight it. Sail across. There will be, it will maybe be bobbing.
Bumpy ride, yeah.
It might be bobbing in the water, depending on how wide your transition is. But ride the waves instead of fight the waves.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they say in swimming. Ride the waves.
Yeah.
If you're swimming in the ocean, you ride the waves. If you don't, you'll be fighting the waves. So knowing that transitions will come, but they are a part of life is good.
Yeah.
So awareness. The other thing is just get equipped. Learn something in that season or even prior to the season. Sometimes even prior is good. Learn something. Listen to someone. Talk to someone who's had a similar transition, a life transition. Ask them questions.
Yeah.
Ask them about their experiences, what they did well, what they didn't do well. You're building resilience. While in the transition, we do the things we said earlier, self-assess. What do I want to take across with me? I think that's why it's a journey from this point to, imagine if it was overnight. You wouldn't learn anything. But I think that period, the actual period, allows you to think, allows you to assess, allows you to offload, allows you to pick up things that you will need across on the other side. I think of it as sometimes even moving countries. You have to kind of do research on this new place that you're moving to. Will I need my heavy jackets or not? Will I need my boots or not? What will I need?
What do I need to take?
What do I need to take with me? What feelings, if it's relational, what feelings do I need? What feelings are legitimate? Which ones are just guilt tripping myself? Which ones are second guessing myself? So building resilience is active. It's not, we'll get stronger. We'll know when we get. It's
come.
active.
No.
It's active.
I love
It is
that.
active and it's necessary. Yeah.
No, because and even what you said around like just knowing that transitions are a part of life, just knowing. I think it takes the shame out of it. Because I think that's another thing that keeps you stuck when you're worried about like not being a certain way, not having a certain thing by a certain time, not being this, not being that. When you start to take external voices into account over your internal voice, you just get stuck.
It's so true.
And you can't move forward.
Can I tell you about getting stuck?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So an image I have in my head is this vehicle that's stuck in the mud, and it's just and you can rev all you want. You can press the gas all you want. It will not shift, and that's, to me, that's being stuck. And you can also do other things. You can. Someone was telling me, I didn't even know this, that you can use a towel to unstick the wheel.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. But meaning, you need to be resourceful. What do I need to get out of this? Because we have been pressing on the gas pedal for a while now, and we're not going anywhere. We're just raising, I don't know.
Yeah, we're just like raising the mud.
Raising the mud. Sometimes it requires equipping in ways that you didn't know that you needed equipping. Talk to somebody who knows this stuff. Talk to someone who's gone through it, or someone who's equipped to equip you. It's so important.
I think that's a big thing too. Like, you don't have to go through it alone.
No.
Because I think when you sit in isolation, it can be so tempting to get stuck in this little wheel. And it can be so tempting to look inward, but for it to take a very sad, dark turn.
Oh my goodness.
Where you put everything on yourself and you sit in this guilt. And you almost feel like you can't move forward. You almost feel like you don't deserve to move forward. Which is really, really like a dark and challenging place to be.
Yep. And even recognizing I'm in a dark and challenging place is growth. And saying, hey, I need help. I need some. I mean, you could be the one, the solo driver in your car, but also you could call AA. Maybe they will help you get unstuck. You know what I mean? Or an AA represents any form of help that you can get before it gets dark, too dark. Because sometimes you might ask for help and maybe it's a little late. And you've made more mistakes. But again, nothing is irredeemable. Oh my goodness.
That part.
Nothing.
Because nothing. I think this is the part that a lot of people struggle with, which is like when you get to a point where you're like, you've played a role or you're the villain in someone else's story. And then you're like, oh no, like I'm just a terrible person, and you get stuck in this, and it's like, no, you were just going through your own transition. And that's okay. And
you did the best you could with the information you had at that point, the decisions you made. And maybe you didn't make good decisions. Still, what a nice data point. Still, it's okay. Still, it's okay. Because otherwise you start showing up apologetically. I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry. Okay, can we now stop apologizing and just learn and let go?
Grow.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. Self-forgiveness. You have to. Because I think the whole world can have forgiven you, but if you don't forgive yourself,
you can't move on.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
And you rob yourself of the rest of your life, which is tough.
And you know how time flies, Lewan, right?
You blink.
You blink. It's been 2 years. I'm still stuck with an emotion, with guilt, with anger even. And sometimes you're angry at people who've moved right on. They didn't even know you were angry at them. It's so important. It's so important to walk, to move forward. Light. It's for our sake.
And mistakes are okay.
And transitions are purposeful in that way. They're, in fact, one of the things I didn't bring up when we're talking about the characteristics of a transition is you're super reflective. And let me tell you, that reflection won't last long either. Because when it's time to move on to the next, when you're now in the next phase proper, you're not reflecting anymore, you're doing.
Oh, I love
So if you deny yourself reflection, lean into it. Lean into the reflection.
I love that. There's a magical element too to being in transition. It's not just pain.
It's not just pain.
There is this like beauty and like almost like superpower and urgency around change and shifts And that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, and there's permission to sit. There's actually permission to just sit still.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And if you don't sit, because I think this is the other thing, right? Because a lot of people, and even myself included, I used to struggle to sit in things. I used to really struggle to sit in things. And I was moving on swiftly, as you said, moving on swiftly through things, like just moving around, living my life externally.
Yeah.
And then got to a place where, like, I went through one of these very complicated very complex transitions, where it was like all of the things I had been avoiding coming at me at once. And I think it's so jarring and shocking and difficult to get through.
Absolutely.
Especially when you've spent the whole time denying them and denying this shift that needs to happen. Then it does. And it just completely obliterates everything.
And denying the impact. Because we self-assessing is part of that. Is what am I in? What's in my what do you call the view that you can't see? What's
Peripheral
in my
view.
What is it that I'm missing? But how do you know if you don't ask? And how do you ask if you don't stop? If you're just in motion. And for me, a big example is sometimes people are moving, say, let's talk about romantic relationships. One ends, you didn't even sit a day. You jump into the next one.
No.
Why now? Why? And there's a reason it's called a rebound. It's because you haven't sat still with what was that? What happened? Why did it happen? Why am I here?
What did I learn?
Even when you're the one who broke it up, you still need to stop. Because sometimes we give ourselves permission to move on swiftly. Because I'm the one who ended it.
I'm fine.
No, you're not. You were changed by that experience. How about taking in how you've changed?
I love that. Sitting in it, reflecting, and taking the transitions as a good thing and a step.
Yes.
Like a necessary step.
Absolutely.
You're getting somewhere else. You're going somewhere else.
There's a reason they built homes. You know, like when you going up a staircase, there's a reason there's a landing. You don't just go up 100 flights of steps. You don't. You go, and the way they built them is that you then can stop. Take in your breath if you need to, drink some water if you need to, and then keep going so that you can get there. Otherwise, you wouldn't get there.
And what piece of advice would you give to somebody that's going through a transition? Maybe to wrap the conversation, what piece of advice would you give to someone that's going through a transition? What do you think they need to know when you're going through a transition? What's the big thing?
I don't want to miss my points. Can I look at my phone?
Yes, please.
I don't want to be guessing because this is important. I don't want to guess. So
please do.
Here's what I think. The first is that that awareness of fast forward transitions are part of life. We will transition whether equipped or not. Whether we know or not. So the best thing is to be aware and to be equipped for it. Right? If you can be pre-equipped, the better. If you can equip while you're in it, good. If you can have a way to just look back so that you can be able to look forward, that's awesome. The other thing is to lean into it. Do not resist it.
Amen.
Do not resist it.
I love that.
When you're swimming, if you're drowning, if you resist the lifeguard, you're likely to all of you sink and drown.
True.
So don't resist it. Lean into the change, lean into the shift, accept it, do the necessary work of rafting well so that you can arrive across well. The other thing is to seek help. We're not always aware even of what we need in the transition. I love to talk to older people. I love to hear what they have to say. I also love to listen to what younger people are seeing. Yeah, they have opinions of, why don't you try that? I love to look at the different opinions. I also love to walk with peers. Don't walk alone. Seek help, seek professional help, seek social structures that can be helpful for you. Look for your people, your community. There's always someone that's had this experience before.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So awareness.
Yes.
Leaning in,
reflecting.
Yes. Sitting in it.
Completely. Yeah.
And seek some help.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Irene.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
having me. And thank you for tuning in to the Soft Edit. As a reminder, you are the author and editor of your life, so make it work for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Done! We did it!